to honor and to carry forward the abiding dream and the courageous work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I would like to begin by thanking the committee that brought us all together, and I want to extend my greeting and appreciation to the students, staff, and faculty of the Colorado College for your hospitality. Greetings to the board and the members of our local chapter, NAACP, and I went and found it. I am a card-carrying member. All right. And by the end of the month, I need to renew. So you should check your expiration date as well. Greetings to fellow members of the Pikes Peak Justice and Peace Commission. I've had the honor to serve as the chair of the board of the JMP for the past year, as well as a greeting and thank you to all of the sponsors of this event who have been named. Also, greetings to my fellow clergy, to community leaders and activists, to Reverend Goss and the Brotherhood Choir of New Direction Baptist Church. That was truly a pleasure to hear you sing. Thank you. I also want to give a shout out to members of my own congregation, the First Congregational Church of Colorado Springs, founded in 1874 by the same group of Congregationalists who founded the Colorado College. To my church, I say, you continue to inspire me and the wider community with your vision and practice of an inclusive community. Finally, I would like to thank Rosemary Harris Lytle, Rochelle Mason, and Roger Smith for extending to me this opportunity to speak. Our theme for today is Courageous Conversations to Courageous Actions, Intersections of Suppression, Oppression, and Regression, a Call to Action. Try to say that 3 times fast. To be entrusted with the task of sharing with you my reflections upon this theme and on this hallowed occasion is a terrific honor. I don't think I could really find the words to express my gratitude. To be completely honest, as I prepared for this morning, I thought more than once, Ben, why did they ask you? What do you have to offer? If your mind works like my mind, you know where I was going with this. I told myself, they must have gone through the short list with no takers. And then they went on to the long list, and when they got to the very bottom, there was your name. Well, when I got asked, it did not take me long to say yes. But I still had to wonder, what does someone like me, a beneficiary of so many societal privileges, what do I have to say with regard to racial and economic justice in our time? And as I searched for an answer, none other than the words of Dr. King himself satisfied my self-doubts. Our lives begin to end the day we remain silent about the things that matter. And I'm here to tell you that if I have to lay down every privilege I have been afforded in this life, I will not remain silent about the things that matter, and I wonder about you. I will not remain silent about abiding and yet unacknowledged racial prejudices. I will not remain silent about the new Jim Crow, that is, the system of mass incarceration. I will not remain silent about barbaric legal murder called capital punishment. I will not remain silent about efforts to suppress and impede all the people's right to vote. I will not remain silent about what Dr. King named the 3 great threats to American democracy: racial inequality, economic inequality, and militarism. I will not remain silent, and I know that you won't either. I will not remain silent, and yet I try always to remember the words of my mom, who used to tell me, Ben, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Play the odds. So I'm going to talk for a little while, but I'll let you know I want to remain always twice as willing to listen as I am to speak. courageous conversations to courageous actions, intersections of suppression, oppression, and regression. A call to
Action.
That's quite a title, and it is based upon the words of Dr. King in his letter from a Birmingham jail to local clergy, a group that well could have included one such as me. Injustice anywhere, King wrote, is a threat to justice everywhere. After this phrase, King writes, we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. In other words, we are, all of us, in this together. Your fate is tied up with mine, and my fate is tied up with yours. This truth is enshrined in the name of a grassroots organization currently fighting for the rights of formerly or currently incarcerated people. The name is All of Us or None. Either all of us are saved or none of us. All of us are free or none of us. All of us prosper or none of us do. All of us or none. It seems to me that we are suffering in our society from an affliction that I will call the I got mine syndrome. Have you heard of the I got mine syndrome? If you have, you know that the worst thing about the I got mine syndrome is that it affects a person's life in such a way as to give the appearance that everything is okay. For someone afflicted with I got mine, the only pertinent questions are, is my neighborhood safe? Does my family have adequate health care? Do we have enough to eat today? Are my investments safeguarded? Are the members of my family accounted for? Was I able to vote? Do the police leave me? Terrorists seek to destroy your way of life. They tell us that the economy is struggling. They tell us there is always more we can achieve. More beauty, more education, more success, more money, more stuff. If you believe this message, and most of us do, you live your life in a perpetual grasping for what you don't have, and you hold off on helping your neighbor until you can say, without a doubt, I got mine. One of the biggest symptoms, the most serious symptoms of the I got mine syndrome is a chronic deficiency in empathy. Empathy is the ability to feel what another is feeling. On one level, it is, of course, impossible to feel what another is feeling. In the practice of pastoral care and counseling, we have learned not to utter to another person that fateful platitude, I know how you feel. Instead, we have resorted to the less committal, I cannot imagine how you feel. But maybe we underestimate the imagination. It is a powerful thing, more powerful than we often acknowledge. We may intend humility when we tell a suffering person, I can't imagine how you feel. Or, I can't imagine what you are going through. But have you ever heard somebody say that to you? And have you wanted to respond, okay, but do you think you could try to imagine what I'm feeling? Do you think you could try to imagine what I'm going through? Empathy is the power to get outside yourself and to imagine what your neighbor is going through. Empathy is the effort to acknowledge the very real suffering of a fellow human being. And we do not have near enough empathy in our I got mine society. I want to tell you about a recent time when I received a critical infusion of empathy. I recently finished Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. Have you read it? A must-read, in my opinion, for anyone serious about understanding the degree and breadth of structural racism in our day and age. You see, whenever I read a book, I have a pencil in hand. I underline and I star key passages and I make notes in the margins. Reading a book for me is a fully embodied activity. Sometimes when I read, I come across something that causes emotion to swell up in me. It starts in my gut, and then it passes through my chest, and it tickles my throat before issuing forth with a tear from my eye. And when that happens, I draw a little teardrop in the margins so I can go back and find it. Dr. Alexander's entire book was excellent, but there was in this particular book only one passage that caused me to draw a teardrop in the margin. It was on page 179. Alexander was challenging the stereotype of black men being poor fathers. To be honest, before reading the passage, I was not consciously aware that I, or anyone else, even had such a prejudice. I had simply never spent time thinking about it before. Now let me pause here and tell you what you already know, and that is that I am a father. My son Marin is 8 years old, and my daughter Sophia is 5. Being a dad, I can agree with the person who said, to become a parent is to allow your heart to walk outside your body. I love my kids the way I think God loves the earth and all its people, with a passion and compassion that absorb the whole of my being. And I worry about being a good father. I worry that I work too much, that my kids get the leftovers of my expended energies. And I have worked hard to let my yes be yes and my no be no, so that I might share some of my best energy with the people that I am closest to. Before reading Michelle Alexander's book, I had not considered that convicts, too, want to be good daddies. Alexander cites research which found that black fathers not living at home are more likely to keep in contact with their children than fathers of any other ethnic or racial group. I marked that passage with a tear. I was not even aware I had such a prejudice. Who am I to judge another person? And what do I know about racial difference? In her book, Fatal Invention, How Science, Politics, and Big Business Recreate Race in the 21st Century, legal scholar Dorothy Roberts reminds us that race is not a valid biological category. I'll say it again. Race is not a valid biological category. Discrimination based on race, conscious or otherwise, is as arbitrary as discrimination based on height or even male pattern baldness.